Okay, gonna record a quick proof of concept here of a build idea I had. Uh, First of all, yes, this is an offline character. Yes, it's like using edited stuff or whatever, just for, like I said, it's proof of concept. So yeah, I'm level 90. I'm gonna have a lot of gold. Don't worry about it. Um, so, basic idea of this build is I wanted to make a caster build that wasn't basically Infinity Blades, because that's like the main skill everybody uses, or just like Plague Burst, Tear, Solar Fall, Bulwark, Winter's Grasp, and everything else. I really liked the look and feel of this Arctic Spear skill, and when thinking about how to scale damage for spellcaster builds, basically you have a lot better resource generation than the rage builds, and you also are more limited by either the cooldown or the tick rate of the ability. Like basically, um, attack builds, they have like weapon damage scalers. So, some abilities like Bleeding Edge or whatever, will have like these really huge, weapon damage things where you can get this up to like 450 or whatever. You have like Wailing Arrows, that's like 900, that I've used in some other builds, stuff like that. Um, Whereas spells don't have ever any difference between like the weapon damage percentage. There's no difference between spells. So basically the only difference between spells is how much the base damage is, which they're all pretty low, especially compared to what you'll get on gear, and then or just like how often it ticks and how often it does that damage. So stuff like Bulwark is pretty good because it does damage uh, like frequently enough. Plague Burst is good because you want to be able to apply Poison Ailment as a spellcaster build for Immortal Offering. There's like a couple other things that are important. But basically, what makes Arctic Spear good is if I just take off some of my gear here, if we just look at the baseline ability or whatever, so this converts it to Sacred because I'm probably going to go with scaling occult damage. This makes it shatter when you kill any enemy that's frozen, so I'll probably use the what is it called? Winter's Grasp, is that right? Yeah. I'll probably end up using this just to freeze enemies to proc this so that they shatter and spread more spears or whatever. This increases the damage. I'm not sure if this is like some of the spell stuff is bad because if you do like average damage 10% or whatever, it scales like the base damage by 10%. So you can see this adds like literally 30 average damage or something. So if this is also like that, then this is pretty bad. And in that case, you would probably go like reduced willpower cost to make this build a lot easier to do, and then you would probably do like longer delay or something maybe. Well, no, because that scales the base damage too. I don't know, but I'm hoping this works as like a multiplier or something. So I don't know for sure, but it's proof of concept. The build works with or without this node, and then this releases smaller spears. Again, the base damage loss on this isn't very bad at all. You can see I lose like 70 damage or something, but you get the spreading four-way X-shaped smaller ice shards and stuff like that. But so the base cooldown of this is 0.3 seconds. So if I just sit here and like cast this, like you can cast this pretty frequently, especially if it's going to be scaling it with a multiplier and you can like shatter stuff and spawn more spears or whatever. But then I realized that's without any cooldown reduction. So I had a couple of cooldown pieces, and then it was 0.2, and that's pretty fast. Like, you can spam this out pretty fast. But then I wanted to know, is it possible to get this to 0.1? Because I'm pretty sure the way this works is that if you get this to 0.1, it would double the DPS that I'm doing right now at 0.2. And it turns out you can. You need exactly 120% cooldown reduction, I think, or more. So you can get it if you have 3 pieces with cooldown reduction at 40%, or you have to just drop like 1 or 2 nodes on the tree. Like I could swap this node over for this one, and I'm right next to this one that I could pick up also. So you can definitely do it without having perfect gear or whatever, but in theory you would have perfect gear. And then what you can also do is, okay, so now I'm spamming this out 10 times a second, and it has a willpower cost of 30. So then I need a bunch of willpower regeneration, like literally 300 plus, just to fuel that if I want to be able to do that endlessly. You can see it's actually 29.8. I didn't realize it shows you the actual decimal above. So then I did that, and I put 25 willpower regeneration on pants, 25 on chest, 25 on helm. You can't get this on heavy items or bruiser items. It has to be either sorcerer or rogue. So you can't use salvatory anchor, so you're going to be probably squishier. But it basically forces you into a force shield build anyway, which you would want to do for Beacon for the Lost. Anyway, so if you do that, and you don't have, for example, let's see, those give me willpower regeneration though. I could swap these gems around and this would be transfer time. But if you do that, you can keep up with the willpower cost of the ability, but the problem is you can see the resource consumption time is 0.5 seconds, so this doesn't ever get scaled by what you have from transfer time reductions. So if it's 0.5 seconds baseline, you can get a whole bunch of transfer time reduction. So I have 40%, you can get it on weapons, you can get 40% each on weapons, so you definitely want to dual wield, and that gives you 3 extra support sockets as well. You can get 25 each from the support sockets. I want to use the trial, because that's obviously really good. You can get 40% on rings and amulet, so that's like, it's like 40, you need negative 50%, you need the low roll on your catalyst, and then you can also get 40% on chest, helm, and pants again. So those are all 3 of your suffixes, so you can't get any main stat on these. And then if you do all that, that makes the resource consumption time low enough, I think you need to get it to be also 0.1, that then you can do this, which is you can cast the ability and permanently be topped up on willpower. It looks like I'm draining slightly. That's weird, I wasn't doing that earlier. I wonder if I changed something on accident. Oh, I know what I probably did. No? I don't know what I did. But basically, for the most part, I can sit here and it never consumes any willpower. And so I can cast this indefinitely, 10 times a second, and it's spawning 2 of them, and they're both splitting. And if I ever freeze stuff, I can shatter those into more. So this seems like a pretty good option for a build, because then what I can do is I can just pop on Plague Burst and Bulwark of Dawn to be dealing damage around me, and then I can literally just cast these while I'm blinking through the map, and just like clear everything while I'm going, pretty much. Obviously the Bulwark would be following me. I could do that. If you ever get low on willpower, you can actually pop a Dusk Shroud, and that'll help transfer some of the rage back into willpower. So yeah, this seems like a possibility for a build. You need basically like perfect rolls on like so many gears pieces. So I have 3 support 3 sockets at transfer time and 3 with willpower regeneration. You also need this 45% willpower regeneration on the rings and the amulet, because you need to get this to be high enough. Because you need to basically be spending, you're spending like 300 per second, so you need the transfer time to be low enough that it regenerates. You can see this bar at the bottom. You need those arrows to be going left at least, and then during that brief time that they're going left from your transfer time, you need to have high enough regeneration to offset the 300 negative cost that you're doing. So you need to be above 300, probably by a fair bit. So I'm at 410, you can see. And it looks like I can still barely almost not sustain it. Sometimes I can sustain it, and sometimes I can't. I'm not sure why that's like variable. It might be due to ping or something. I don't know. That's kind of weird. But like sometimes I can sit here and it's at, normally you'll see this sit at like 1050 or 1020 or whatever a lot of times. Or if I had gotten lower, I tested it earlier, I got down to like 500, and then I just held right click, and it slowly got up to like 650. Took a really long time though. But yeah, I did slowly generate rage, so, or willpower. So yeah, this seems like an option for a build that you could probably do. And I don't know how you would do it. I don't know how you would even get this gear in the first place. It seems like it would be extremely tricky to do. But in theory, this is probably a non-Infinity Blades build that works. And you could maybe even use the Pierce nodes on the tree. They're additive, so I don't think they'll be that good, but maybe that's good enough. And maybe you can just scale your damage pretty high doing this. I don't know how you would apply all the ailments and stuff. But yeah, this seems like a fun, interesting build idea I had that it technically works, it theoretically works, but it's the gear requirements are a bit more strict than I thought they would be. And so it basically requires perfect gear, so you would probably have to play for a really long time to farm up this gear just to be able to play this build in the first place. So Infinity Blades is definitely much easier or whatever, but yeah, this is pretty cool. So if they ever make this slightly easier somehow, oh, one thing was, if this is bad and it's like additive or whatever, a really easy thing you can do is just take this node, and now it's like super easy to sustain forever. because your willpower cost is much cheaper. You don't want this node, even though it's reduced willpower cost. The problem is it doubles the resource consumption time, which what that means is you would need to double the transfer time. And right now I'm at like 465% or something transfer time. Like I have a ton, and so uh, you couldn't double it at that point. Like I have the max transfer time you could possibly hope to achieve to get. I could get 3 more sockets here on the catalyst if I dropped the willpower regeneration, and then I would have 75% more. But I can't like get another 500%. Like that's impossible. So yeah, just a quick neat build idea there I had. If somebody else wants to optimize this and hopefully maybe figure out something else that works better, I definitely went over here to get this 10% willpower regeneration and spell cost decrease. There's also these nodes in here that are decent, 10% transfer time, and 2 8% nodes there. But they're pretty far away, and you don't actually want any of these like big notables or whatever. Otherwise, it's just like Archeon's teachings. This is which time cannot heal, dire juncture. This is the Force Shield leech stuff. This is Force Shield double. This is Occult Affliction. This is the Sacred Damage stuff. This is Undertaker and the Globe thing. And the Summon one, because that'll work on Plague Burst. This is Siegebreaker. We don't need Salvatore Anchor because we're not going to be able to wear heavy stuff, and then the normal like ailments and crit-based stuff. So yeah, it's pretty similar to some of my other trees. It's just changed a bit for a spellcaster playstyle. Alright, let me know what you think of that. Thanks for watching.